All righty, we're gonna go ahead and honor everybody's time and go ahead and get started today. If we have more people come in, that's just fine. And we'll talk about our team in just a second. But we do have people monitoring the chat, so if you have any questions, please feel free to put that in the chat. And we'll also be putting the bit.ly code that you see at the top of the screen in the chat a couple of times, just so that you can access it when if you like to follow along with us. So, but with that being said, that is the bit.ly code to this presentation. If you would like to open it up and follow along, that would be just great. All right, let's go ahead and jump in. All right, come on. Well, all right, technical difficulties. All right. There we go. All right, here's your team. All right, so this is our team here at Region 10 in Data Solutions, and we are your TeKSbank/TeKSbank Classroom team. So as you can see up there, we have Courtney Stevens. She's our Assistant Director. She's over all the Data Solutions teams that we have here at Region 10. We're just a small little team in that department. Then we have Christopher Gray. He's our program coordinator. He is here. He's the one that's actively monitoring the chat. So if you have any questions, feel free to put that in there. And then we also have Dr. Allison Smithwick and Bree Manuel. They're both consultants on our team, as well with myself, Joshua Dunn. And we're here to help you in any way that we need to. So if you have any questions, again, we'll give you some information here at the end of how to contact us outside of this webinar, but please feel free to, yeah, reach out to us if you have anything. All right, before we get started, a quick little caveat. Okay, so we know this training today is going to be for new users. So if you have not done a onboarding session with us yet, you may not be able to get into TBC today, and that's okay. We'll walk through everything. We'll also send out a recording of this webinar for you to have in perpetuity after we get done here. However, if you or your district person wants to have an onboarding session in your district, please reach out to Dr. Allison Smithwick. Her email address is up there on the screen. We'll also put it in chat. So, and we can set up a district onboarding, and that will help you get your information, your code to be able to register. But unfortunately, for the limitations that we have today for this webinar, we don't have time to do that properly and with everybody in so many different districts, but we are happy to set up another session with just your district and get you in so that you can play around with this. Okay. All right. So let's move on into the agenda. Sorry, our system's running a little slow today, so but that's okay. We'll make it work. Okay, so here's our agenda today. We're going to start off talking about more generally what formative assessment is and why it's important to do in your classroom or in your district. And then we will move into how TBC, what is TBC and how does TBC work with that formative assessment piece. Then we'll take some time to go live. I have my TeKSbank classroom pulled up and we'll walk through some different things for you. Everything's going to be in this presentation, but it's just a little bit easier to do it live to show you in real time. And that way we can go that. But if you ever need reference, you can come back to this presentation. We'll talk about some resources at the end, and then we have an exit ticket for you. It's really just a survey or a feedback survey for us for this presentation and for myself, just so that we know what we can do better. How can we help better support you? Okay. So this slide deck is loaded with links and screenshots so that you can return to it for any time for reference and outside of what we're talking about today to help it a little bit more easier for you. And so again, like I said, if we need a more technical onboarding session, we're happy to provide that as well. All right, so let's jump in. So let's first start talking about formative assessment. So what you need to know is with TeKSbank and TeKSbank Classroom, we are your balance assessment piece. So when you look at your framework for a balance assessment, we cover both pieces of that. TeKSbank itself, if you're not familiar, is going to be our item bank. So it lives in mostly in your DMSs. That's probably where you're most used to accessing it through. That is your Eduforias, your Edugences, your school cities, your power schools. So we are in most of those vendors, and that's probably more than likely where you go to the items that you use to build your assessments in that. But there's a clear distinction. So those vendors that we just talked about are going to what we consider a data management system. So they're going to be where you go for to design and administer your summative assessments. So those are the assessments that you give at the end of a unit or at end of a larger block so that you can get that data. These data management systems collect robust global data so you can compare that with not only your kids, but maybe district-wide students and get a really comprehensive view of all that. On the flip side of that, we have TeakSbank Classroom, which that's our primary focus today is, and that's going to be more access to your LMS. So your Google Classrooms, your Canvases, your Schoologies, those are going to be where you can find TeakSbank Classroom. And so if your district has TeakSbank has purchased a license for TeakSbank in those DMSs, you actually get TeakSbank Classroom for free to utilize in your classroom. So something that maybe even people in your district may not know about. So that's something that you may want to talk to them about and just kind of bring it up the ladder for them to see that because most of them are, yeah, they bought TeaksBank. Yeah, you see it in Eduphoria Aware. However, you may not have ever heard of TeaksBank Classroom, and they may not have either. But this is the piece that you'll use for your formative assessments and for you and your other teachers to help really hone in on data in real time and be able to work and affect your instruction, your PLCs. So overall, if you're not familiar with TeakSbank, we have 85,000 items plus. We have about 20,000 for every core content. And then that breaks down by grade level. But we have everything you need to have a balanced assessment system for that. So we position that TeakSbank as a summative backbone for both of these systems. So TeakSbank Classroom is an innovative form of assessment tool that uses the content from TeakSbank and the convenience of your LMS and provides feedback views that allows teacher to make instructional choices and increases student ownership of their learning in real time. Okay. So we talk about assessment planning protocol and how important it is. And what we've done is we've taken the four PLC questions and overlaid it with our planning protocol. So if you look at this graphic, you can see that when you're planning for your assessments, so that's going to be the question, what do we want our students to learn? As you're building your assessments, how will we know if they learned it? And then as you're analyzing your assessments, that's where you're going to go into questions 3 and 4. How will we respond if a student does not learn it? And what will we do if a student already knows it? So whether it's reteaching items or extending or adding extension activities, that's all encompassing in this. So it's providing a comprehensive services from that initial product to help design a system-wide classroom implementation. Okay. So as we go into it, you can kind of see some screenshots from TeakSbank Classroom. And again, like I said, we're going to get into a lot more detail throughout this hour. But basically with TeakSbank Classroom and how it affects your formative assessment is quick, is specific, and is ongoing/frequent. So if you're looking at this math standard, this fourth grade math standard, 3E, which represents and solve addition and subtraction of fractions with equal denominators using objects and pictorial models that help build to a number line and properties of operations. So as you can see, this question that's been pulled up and is animated there in the background. This is a hotspot, so students are able to click on the blocks and be able to distinguish what the answer is. And so our TeakSbank Classroom is designed to look very much like Cambrium and the STAR system so that students are practicing like they're going to see in real time once they get into that assessment. So also with TeakSbank Classroom, it helps to build scaffolds for students by intentional item type selection. So what I mean by that is, as you can see, we have a range of items. So even in our questions in TeakSbank, we have items from DOK 1 to DOK 3. I say all that is because I know most of the questions that you see on STAR are going to be your DOK2s, but we also believe that we need to have an entry point for students and a mastery point for students for them to really show their understanding across the board. And when you look at, we say we have new item types, we know they're not new anymore. We've had them for several years now, but we do have every item type that you see on STAR and even beyond that. And so that's all there to help you be able to assess students in a certain way so that you can get the evidence and see where you can move the students next. So whether they're drag and drop down at the very kind of bottom or all the way up to short constructive responses, which are open response, that's going to help give you the evidence that you need and give you a deeper understanding as the instructional cycle progresses. And one of the nice things is with TeacsBank Classroom, we'll show you the data page that teachers will get in a second, but this is the student data page. So as soon as students are finished with an assignment, they get the immediate feedback. And we know how important that is for students to grow and understand what they missed. So this is in very student-friendly language. So as you can see, this assignment had 4 questions on it. They got the first 2 correct. They got partial credit on the third one, and then they got the fourth one incorrect, and they scored a 43%. So even though they scored a 43% on this item or on this assessment, there is still room to improve. So it's in student-friendly language, not to get them down, but to let them know that there's some things that they can work on and how to get better at it. So it gives like I said, it gives students specific and timely feedback. Where am I now? What does my work compare to the success criteria that I'm trying to learn? What current understandings can I build upon? And what next steps can I take in my learning? So these are all conversations that you can have with your students as they go through that. Speaking of conversations with your students, from the teacher standpoint, they get a dashboard of the assessment that looks like this. So as you can see, they can see the assessment at large. They can we'll talk about toggling between results by item and results by standard here in a couple of slides. But for this particular assignment is divided up by results by item. They can see that this had, I don't know how many items it has, but it cuts off at 9. But you can see that all the students are anonymous. So it's just students 1 through 11. So this is a great tool to use in your data conversations with your students. You can pull this up in the class and show it to the kids and then talk through this. So why did they get only 17% on question number 1? So you can go through that, whether it was the rigor of the question or the stimulus, or there's so many different things that can trip a student up. But you can have those conversations. Number 2 is a little bit better at 92%. So only 1 or 2 students got that incorrect. And then you can see 3, 4, and 5, they got all correct. And those were all multi-point. So what was it about those items that allowed students to do so well on it? 6, they dropped back down to 46, 7, 78, and then 8, 96. So these are all important also that as you look at this, you can determine your grouping about how to tackle this next. So you can click there's a little toggle at the top that you can reveal the names. I wouldn't do that in your classroom, but there is a toggle that you can reveal the students' names and have that understanding as well. And you can use that to do things like reteach. So like number 1, because so many students got it incorrect, reteach the entire class. So for 3, 4, and 5, they did really well on it. So I wouldn't spend any more time on that concept. So if this is a pre-check or a pre-assessment that you're getting before a unit, you may say, okay, they got that really well. I can move on from that. And when you look at questions 6 or 7, where you have more of a mixed result, you can group students. So whether it's your teacher table or however you want to set it up, maybe you put the kids who understood it really well in a group and they can go and do an extension activity while you at your teacher table take some time and really dig into some of the misconceptions that they had for questions number 6 or 7. So it helps collect actionable data to help determine your next step of instruction. So again, like I said earlier, you can do this as a class data talk because it is truly anonymous. So I know sometimes you may hide the names, but you still know like Amy Adams is 1, Bert Baccarat is number 2. However you want to go through all that, right? So, but this truly does mix them up. And then once you reveal the names, it will go in alphabetical order, but you can sort them in different ways on there. All right, so that was a big overview about how to use TbC as a formative assessment piece and how important formative assessments are in your classroom to be able to determine where students are at and how to help them grow. So, but what is TbC exactly? Well, as I've kind of mentioned, this is going to be the assessment application inside your LMS. So as you can see, you can find us in School City, Schoology, Google Classroom, Canvas. So this is going to be a lot less stressful. Sometimes if you are Let's take Eduphoria aware for a second. So getting into that system can be really daunting for kids. So it's a big system. They know, maybe not intuitively, but they know that when they go into aware to take assessment, it's going to be a big deal. We are trying to take away that from the kids. So we want them to know that this is low stakes, that this is really just for data purposes. This is to help you as the teacher to be able to define and change your instruction up. And so that's what's so important about that form of assessments piece we just talked about. But moving forward with TbC in your classroom and how to utilize it. So, real quick, let's talk about some key features. So, we're going to kind of talk about breaking this down a little bit more. User roles. We're going to talk about classrooms and rostering. We're going to talk about some insightful data. You've seen some of it already. And then we're going to talk about libraries that you have access to within the system. So for user roles, not sure what all your roles are in your district as we're going through this webinar, but just so you know the difference between all of them. Standard users are going to be your basic classroom teachers. So you will have access to your classroom data, and that's it. And that's all that's designed to do is for you to see your kids and how to help your kids in your classroom. Content managers, they can publish to a shared library. Those may be more your instructional specialists if you have those in your district. But they're going to be kind of the coaches that can push multiple assignments out to different users. So it may be you if you have a teaching partner on the same grade level in your campus. They may be able to push that assignment to both of you so that you can both have it. So it kind of creates more of an opportunity for a common assessment between the two people who may be giving it, two or three people who may be giving it. And then administrators, those are going to be your more higher level people who are going to actually assign those roles. So they're going to be the ones that determine whether you're a content manager or a standard user. Those are going to be mostly your technical people, your tech people on your class, in your campus or in your district to help assign that. Okay. All right. So once you get in, and again, I apologize because if you don't have access to it, you're just kind of going off my word, but you will see a screen that looks like this. This is going to be your dashboard. So this is going to be where you're going to see all your things. And when we go live here in a second, you'll see my dashboard. But a couple of things to take note. So at the very top, you see TeaksBank Classroom. That's going to be your home button. So whenever you get into the system and you've gotten a couple of pages into it, you're like, I just want to go back to my dashboard. If you click that, that's going to be on every page. That's going to send you back here. Number two is going to be kind of give you a couple of different tools to use. One is the feedback button. So if you're having issues with the program itself, you'll click that feedback button and that will send us messages and we can get with the developers to kind of help fix those issues. The question mark is going to be your help button. So that's where you're going to find some help docs to kind of help you through it all. Then you have TeaksBank Classroom Demo. So what that is that showing you that you are in TeaksBank Classroom. We know that there are other groups that also use this platform. So if you are a part of Lowman Education or TCMPC, I can never get that right, but they also use this platform. So that's how you can toggle in between those different groups, essentially. And then you have your person. So this is Dr. Smithwick's screenshot. So her name's up there. But if you click that, that's going to send you to your profile and give you some settings that you can mess around with. And then finally, you have a library button. And we'll talk more about the libraries in a couple of slides, but that's how you actually get to the assignments that you are creating. Number three is going to be where you have your classrooms. So this is where it's going to connect with Google Classroom pretty easily or whatever system that you have. And this is where you'll see a list of all your students. So we'll talk about rostering here on the next slide, but this is just an easy view to get and access your different various classrooms. And then finally at the bottom is your assignments. So these are going to be the most recent assignments that you have created. It's not, it doesn't, I think it's like the top 5 or 6 overall that you've done, the most recent 5 or 6 that you've done. You can create assignments through this page. You can see the little green button. Again, we'll get into some of that when we get into our live demo. But that's just an easy way to get to it. Now, if you want to see all your assignments, that's where you're going to click the library button at the top there, and that will send you to your library function that will house everything that you create. One quick note of this is I would highly suggest you come up with some sort of naming convention because while at first you may not have very many assignments, they can get kind of muddled in there. So think about that with your campus or with your district and how you want to name your assignments so it's easier to find in your classroom. Okay, so speaking of my classroom, so what is a classroom? Well, a classroom represents the group of students organized for instructional or assessment purposes. The classrooms help you manage rosters, assign assessments, and track student progress. So, and this is when you build your assignments in TbC, this is where you'll actually be able to push to these different classrooms. So if you have it set up through Google Classroom, that's how you will do that as you build it and push it out to your kids. Rostering, again, as long as you use one of those other LMS pieces, either Google Classroom or Canvas, your roster should already be there. But in case you don't, you can always upload a roster. You can just do a CSV file. The only problem is when you upload your roster is going to be very static. So if you have kids moving in and out of your classes, that may pose a problem. So we highly suggest that you roster through one of the other platforms. That way, that if any changes happen there, they will also be reflected in your TeacsBank classroom. Insightful data. All right, here's a little GIF that you can watch as it goes through. We talked about this data board already, but there are a lot of different functions with that data board. So I'm going to kind of talk through some of these screens as they come across. You can see, you can tag into that and you can see results by standard or results by item. Here's a standards mastery page. You have all these to be able to access this through your platform and your dashboard as you get into the assignments. Here you can see all the names have been revealed. You can see the results by item or by standard. You can click into the student. I think this is where it started. If you click on the student, it will give you all the results of the objective. And then if you scroll down, you can see how they performed on each item. So again, we'll talk through some of this when we go live, but this is just a quick little GIF that kind of shows you what that looks like in real time as you go through it. Okay. All right, come on. There we go. That dashboard, as we were talking about, assignment results. So again, as you saw from that GIF, you can do it either by results by item or results by standard. You can reveal the names. It does give you an average for those students across the board. So student one, you can see an average of a 60. Student two, an average of a 60. You can see all the students an average of a 63. So there is a lot of different things that you can do with this slide to have those conversations between you and your PLC or with the students themselves, as long as you don't have the names revealed. Again, you can up here at the top, you can also see the link that you can give out to be able to have the students scan to access the assignment if it's not already pushed through a Google Classroom or a Canvas piece. We also have a student's mastery page. What this looks like is it gives you a whole holistic view of that standard. So when you look at this first one, you can see this is Earth, Space, and Science or Earth, Space, Science standard right there. So you can see this is one. It's been tested 39 times. I know it's a little confusing because you see a little person on there. That's not the number of people who've done it. It's actually the number of times it's been tested across all your different assignments. And then you can see here a little bit of a breakdown. So as you can see, as a whole, on that standard, it's 62%. Then you can see by assessment. So right here, from right to left, you can see like the first assignment they didn't do so hot on, second assignment they didn't do so hot on, but by the third assignment, you're starting to see that turn around. This one over here, for ESS2-2, it's been tested 62 times over the course of all the assignments that you've been given. You can see on here, they definitely didn't do very well on it. The first two assignments they had it on. Then you can see they did a little bit better. They did really well on the fourth assignment and they dropped back down. So those are just things to have conversations about with in your teams as you decide what to do best or next in your assignment or in your instruction. Okay, so my library, we talked about that too up here at the top. That's how you're going to access all of the assignments that you've created. You can see over here as well, you have two different toggles up here. You have a My Library and you have a Shared Library. I'll talk more about that shared library on the next slide. But you can also have a somewhat of a filter. So if you have multiple grade levels that you're building assignments for, you can toggle that right here by clicking that box. You can see who the owner is as well. So whether it's you or a teammate, you can see who the owner of those assessments are. Okay. So you can also, this is also where you create it. You can create new assignments. We'll talk more about creation when we go live here in just a second. Your shared library is going to be all the assignments that have been shared with you. So again, you also have a filter on the left-hand side. You can narrow it down by subject, by grade level. Most of these you see up here are ones that TeKSbank, our team, has actually created. So we have focus assessments that are basically a collection of things for English teachers or items for English teachers that have a passage and then focus on just one standard. So say it's author's purpose. So you're going to get a passage and 4 or 5 questions that are just over author's purpose or inferencing, or you can see the breakdown here off to the side in parentheses. So those have been made by us to help kind of alleviate some of that for you. But you can still go through any of these and you can also narrow down or take questions off that you don't really care for. But that's been pushed already out through the shared library. But this is also houses any other items that have been shared with you. Okay, so once you get into TeachBank Classroom, this is how you create an account. So you go to this website, you'll click register, you'll enter this information. The piece that y'all probably do not have is the workspace ID or the registration code. And that's why I was saying at the very beginning that if you would like to schedule onboarding with us, please reach out to Dr. Smithwick. We'll put her email address back up here in a few. But that's how that will work to get into the system itself. So that's what that will look like when we get there. Okay, so let's go live. So give me just a second to pull that screen over. And then we'll just work through it live for the next few minutes. Come. Probably. Let me escape from my presentation. And as I said, you can kind of see this as well. Anything that we talk about on the live session, we do have slides for right here. So you can definitely go through each of those slides in case you want to come back to this with animated GIFs that you can watch through. It will help you go through that once you're in the system. All right. So let me try this one more time. Come on. Sorry, guys. You know what? Let's try this a different way because it's not letting me drag over. Let me stop my sharing. Let me add my sharing again, and let's just go this way. All right. Can everybody see that? All right, good deal. So as I was sharing earlier, this is my TeachBank classroom that you can kind of see what it kind of breaks down as. We talked about already. You do have the home button up here at the top. You have these buttons over here as well that we talked about with my library. Here are my classrooms, and here are my recent assignments. So we work with a lot of districts across Texas. That's why you see a lot of their ISD names are up here and how to go through that. So if you go over here to my classrooms, let's just kind of look at that for a second. You can see you have access to my classroom. If I click add a new classroom, you can see you have different options. You can create a classroom manually. You can create a classroom through Google Classroom, or you can create a classroom through your LMS. So because we have a Google Classroom, I'm just going to go ahead and click that. It'll give you a little bit of warning. So about what it is, you can click OK. You sign in with Google, whatever that is. You continue all the pieces to that. Yeah. All right. So, and then it brings up all the classrooms that you have already in your Google Classroom. So you can choose any of those that you want to import. So all these are already on my screen. So I'm not even going to try to do that, but this is how you do it. And it's a pretty simple process and it connects pretty easily. And from there, you can go into a classroom and you can kind of see basically, as long as it pulls up, I told you we're having a little bit of slow drag here. You can see the overview of that classroom. You can see the assignments that have already been pushed out to that classroom. You can see if you click on assignments, there's another view of those assignments and also where you can build your own assignment right there. You can see your roster. So if I had students in that classroom, in this demo classroom, they would populate here and it would be that data dashboard that we already talked about. And then you have the student mastery page. Again, don't have any data for this particular classroom, but you can kind of see what I showed you on the screen with what it would look like once you have the data in there. Okay. I just click back to dashboard. Again, you can go back to there to be able to access it. Here you can see my most recent assignments. A couple to Anthony ISD, Locke Academia, Garland ISD, Crandall ISD, things that we have worked on through that. All right, so let's build an assignment while we're on this page. So if I click on the green button, new assignment, it's going to bring up this building page. Here's where you're going to put your basic information. So you're going to type in, let's see, let's just do webinar, let's TbC webinar 727. Okay. Here you can write any instructions or the descriptions of the assignment that may be visible to the students depending on if you click that toggle. Down here you can see preferences. So this is where you're going to add your accommodations. We did this presentation just last week, and I know one of the things they asked for is how to do highlighter, line reader, option eliminator. These are places where you can toggle those on and off. So for this assignment, so it will be different for every assignment, but you can definitely choose what you want to do in your classroom and how you want to come across. You can choose your calculator type that students will have access to once they get into the system. Reveal student score. So if you want them to have their score when they get done, this is where you'll toggle. It is on default to show their student scores once they get finished, but you can also toggle that off if you don't want them to know. Same thing, reveal student responses and reveal correct answers for the students after that. We talked about that screen earlier in the webinar. That's where you would find it. You can also do retake preferences right here. So if you want them to have a chance to retake, you can set that here. Score, latest score. So depending on how many retakes they have taken, and you can actually set up an assessment window for them to access it. So if it's too early, if you built it like a week beforehand, but you want them to take it on a specific date, you can set that up here. And then again, you can select what classroom you want to send it to. With that all being said, so let's go ahead and add the content to that. So if you hit Browse Library, you can see the options of what to send that to. So you can see you have My Library and you have a toggle at the top for Shared Library. So this is an assignment that is pre-existing that you want to send to them. That's where you will find that. But more importantly, if you want to create your own assignment, you're going to hit that little green plus button. It will bring you to this Edit Activity screen. So there are two ways you can do this. Before you get into doing the items, I would highly suggest you go ahead and go to settings. You choose what subject you want to do. So I'm going to do social studies. I was a social studies teacher, so that's always my go-to. So that will help alleviate some things on the back end of that. And then you can also preview once you built your assignment. That's a little toggle at the top. But first, we got to add some items. So there are two different ways, well, actually three different ways you could do that. Let's do the one, let's knock this out before we get into trying to find the items. You do have the ability to create your own items here. So you have a little button down here that says create item. If you click into that, it sends you to an item editor. And you can build your items here however you want to. Those items will stay in your account as long as your district has TeKSbank and TeKSbank Classroom. If they were ever to get rid of it, those items would go away as well. But this is a place for you to build your item. So you select what type of question you want. You have a whole menu choice of what to build. And then once you do that, then you can put your items here, question, your answer choices, the title of your item. That can be the question stem. That's how we do it here at TeKSbank is we put the question stem as the title of the item. And then you can put whatever metadata you want to find in that. Okay. And then you can preview it before you're good to go on it. And then, yeah, it'll just be there for you. And then even if you try to get out of it, it'll give you some warnings. Are you sure that you saved the item before returning the item? Yes, I saved it, whatever the case may be. All right, so that's how you create your own item. So if you are looking for items, there's two different ways you can do that. If you're an ELAR teacher, so you are probably going to search passages. So if I click on search passages, it will load all the passages that we have in TeachSpank Classroom. We do still have some science and social studies passages on there. We're trying to weed those out to make it a little bit more of a streamlined experience. But really, if you're looking for English language arts, you're going to click that. It gives you the item count of how many that's in the system. We have 1.5 thousand passages in our system. And then you can go to filter it down to what you need. So say you want to do grade 5 language arts. We have 198 of those. It will filter over here, and you can see the passages as you scroll through. If you want to get really specific, you can go down here to standard and really break it down that way. So 4.6F, if I click on that, that will narrow it down to the 12 that we have. And as you can see, all the standards are on there to build through that. You can narrow it down to DOK 3, or sorry, you can narrow it down to DOK. We have DOK 1, 2, and 3 available. Or you can narrow it down by Bloom's taxonomy. You can see the different levels that we have for Bloom's taxonomy. And then language as well. So these are going to be mostly English items. We do have Spanish items. We are trying to achieve one-to-one, so make sure that all of our items are both in English and in Spanish. K through 5. Yes, sorry, K through 5. And we're working on that. So we're closer than we've ever been. So we are working through that process. So again, if I'm going to these passages and I click on a passage, as you can see, it brings up the passage. You can read through the passage to see whether you like it or not. And if I click on that, it'll say select items from passage one. So if I click on that box, it will bring up the purple box down at the bottom. Click on that, and it will add that passage to your test. So as you scroll through, you can then see what items are part of that passage. So if you like it, if you like the item, you can move the items around. You can also go and delete. There's a couple options. If you click those three little buttons right there, you can swap the item out with another item. You can swap the item out with a relative, which again, that's our one-to-one English to Spanish, which is a new feature that just got added literally last week. So we're working to kind of see how that works and how well that works in the systems. But if you have any feedback, please just let us know. Say you want to edit the item. So say you like the passage and you like pieces of the item or the question, but you don't like the whole question. Well, if you click on that, it'll ask you if you want to make a copy. So if you make a copy, the original will remain, but you will get a new version of it in that item editor that we talked about earlier that you can change around and fix however you would like to. So, and again, just like if you created an item, the item will stay in your bank as long as your district continues to have TeksBank. That's another option. Or if you just don't like the item, you can just delete it. So that was the copy I just made, and I just deleted it out of the system so that we didn't continue with that. But say you saw that, you liked all 14 questions that are part of this passage, and then you go to preview, you can see what it looks like on the student view. Again, it tries to look very much like Cambrium. Depending on your settings, they will all be over here on the right-hand side of your screen. But students can choose their answers. I don't know about y'all, but this is what I do when I go into Cambrium and look at items that have been on the STAR test. I just click answers just so I can see the next question. But anyway, you can kind of see all that. And if you're good with all of it, you just click Save Activity. It'll ask you for the name of the activity again. So 727. And then if you save activity, it will create the assignment or the activity assignment in your library. So here's the assignment name. If I hit assign, again, you can preview it here. It will automatically go to my demo account, and there it is. It shows up right there. And so once you give the assignment out to your students, you can go back and look at all the data through this screen right here. All right, so where were we? So we have created an assignment. You can also have it to import using share code. That's another way to send it out to the kids so that you're not pushing it out through their LMS. Am I forgetting anything on that front?
Actually, share code would be if you're a partner teacher.
Oh, partner teacher. Sorry about that. Your partner teacher is using that. So, am I forgetting anything else on this part of it?
Mm,
Anything else I should show them? Okay. So, all right. So that is how you would function within TBC, how you create your assignments and how you can pull that data and be able to start looking into your data and looking at all that. Let's see. Sorry, I just want to check something real quick for myself. Um, I know we have data somehow, just so we can show that to you. All right. Do we have that data on there? All right. Well, so that's where you're going to go back to the assignment itself to find that data to be able to work through that data. And so we have other pieces on that that we can share at a different webinar and go in a little bit more depth in that data and how to analyze it a little bit better when it gets to that. So I'm going to go back to the presentation, just make sure I covered everything on the presentation piece of that. So you can also see on the presentation where that lives, how to create assignments. We talked about that. You can also do passage assignments. There's a screen for that. How to customize an item. We talked about the three bubbles on that. We need to update this screen to show swap with relative, but we will do that as well. And then if you want to add your own item, that's how you do it. Assignment settings, we did kind of go through that kind of quickly as well, how to set up those preferences for that assignment. When you do that for that assessment setting, that will be for that one assignment. So this is not going to be like a default for all your assignments moving forward. So just be aware of that. If you have kids with accommodations, whether they're 504 or special ed, there may be certain accommodations on here that you may want to give just to them as opposed to all your kids, but you would do that through that piece on there. Okay. And let's see, that kind of brings us toward the end of our presentation. So, kind of really getting into the resources piece of that. If you have any questions as we go through, that's the case. We've also added a couple of videos on here as well. If you're following along on the presentation, what the student looks like when they're given a TBC assignment because we don't have time to really kind of go and do the demo in Google Classroom, but these videos will be very helpful for you as you kind of see what it looks like on the student side. Here's one for the student feedback. So if you select that little toggle that said give students the correct answers, this is what they would see when they go through it. And you can see where they have an option to reveal the answer. They can see the correct answer and they can see the answers that they were chosen for that and the points that were given for those items. If you want to go a little bit more in detail, we do have a YouTube library that you can click on through this presentation and find a little bit more information about all these different things. So if y'all are new users, if you need a little bit more practice before you get into it, these are great videos to kind of help you out with that. We talked about technical support and how we're your team. So here are different things like if you want to know how to do something, if you have registration issues, or if you're getting error messages, that you can email to this email address or call the number. It will go to our team and they will send it to us. So we can answer your calls or we can answer your emails, however you need help. We're here to help you out. And it's going to be our team that's going to reach out to you. It's not some call service center somewhere else. It is us. All right, so that brings us to the end of our presentation. It looks like we have about 14 minutes left. This is just a QR code to provide us feedback. So if you don't mind, please take a second and give us feedback on this webinar and also give us any ideas of what you want to see on future webinars. So we do these pretty regularly and that will be helpful for us as we decide what we want to do our webinar over. Again, there's our number, there's our information, there's our website. If you go to our TEKSbank website, it gives you a lot more in-depth information about TeacsBank and some of the other projects we've been working on. So that's just a one-stop shop as well, and all of our information is on there as well. So if you lose this presentation or you can't find it again, if you just go to TeKSbank.com, you can do that. Okay. So I'm going to be quiet for a second and let y'all fill that out, and then we'll come back together and wrap this all up. Okay, I'll come back and put this up there again right before we wrap up. A couple of things, just housekeeping, just to think about as we continue to move forward. We are going to have a user group meeting for the first time. We've never done this before, but some of the feedback we have gotten in the past is that we like to hear from other districts and how they're utilizing TeKSbank Classroom. So this fall, we're starting a user group, and our first meeting is going to be September 28th from 8:30 to 11:30 in the morning here at Region 10. So if you can join us, we would love to have you come to our user group. The registration is there. There's a bit.ly there that will take you to that registration because that registration link's kind of long, and you have a QR code there. If you cannot make it, if you're somewhere else in Texas and it's too far for you to travel, we are going to have a virtual option that day. But please still register on that on through that bit.ly or that QR code so that we can get you the information that you need and get you any recordings or anything and keep you up to date on whatever we do. So that's that coming up September 28th. For those that are going to be in person, we are going to have breakfast. Sorry for the virtual people, we can't send you breakfast. But still, we would love for you to join us and have those conversations. We do have teachers or educators from across three different districts that are going to talk about their user experience. We'll also have the more technical side, the people who run Campfire, the platform that we were just in. They will be here and they can answer any questions that may be on the technical side or take requests for things that you want to see in Campfire as we move forward. Beyond that, if you would like to get updates from us, we do have our mailing list, but we've also added a new text alert feature. So if you're interested in signing up for text alerts, please scan that QR code and opt in. It'll send you a little form to fill out, and so that you can put your number in there, and that will let us keep you up to date on anything that may be coming out or changes that may be occurring, or any kind of new webinars or sessions that we may be having here at Region 10. So that's just another option for you if you're interested in doing that. Here's your team again. So the four of us represent the TeKSbank Classroom team, and we're here for whatever you may need. Our number's on there again. You follow us on socials if you would like to. We do put some fun things on socials. So if you would like to follow us on socials, that piece is right there. We do have about 10 minutes left. So, there's a few of y'all on here, but not too many that can't come off mute and ask us any questions if you have any. So, if you haven't had a chance to put it in chat, or if you just have been holding off so you can ask us in person, feel free to come off mute and we will be happy to answer any questions that you have. If not, we hope you have a wonderful day. Thank you for joining us. We know this is a busy time of year coming on to the beginning of school. It's never easy. You will be receiving our video of this. We did record the presentation, and you'll be getting a video of this hopefully by the end of the day, if not first thing in the morning. Okay. Hope y'all all have a great rest of your day.